Welcome. Thank you everyone for joining us for our monthly Cosmo Campfire session, where we focus on a particular feature within Mission Control. This month, we'll be taking a look at the timesheet along with all the new enhancements that we released in our Mission Control version 1.79. This latest version is now available on the App Exchange. It's been available since January 9th, and it will be fully released to all sandbox orgs on January 24th. And then to all customer production orgs on Saturday, February 7th. So if you don't see these enhancements at the moment, then let's see, just gonna move this sign. If you don't see these enhancements at the moment, then feel free to download that to the App Exchange. And if you don't see my screen at all, please let me know in the chat or Q&A. I'll make sure to take a look at that as much as I can as well. Perfect. And just to introduce myself, my name is Janaya. I'm a customer service representative at Aprika. I've been with the team for about 3 years, or just reached 3 years, and then the Salesforce ecosystem for about 4 years now as well. Looking at our agenda today, we'll be reviewing the timesheet, which is Mission Control's core feature for logging time. Throughout the session, feel free to add your questions in the Q&A chat for us to review at the end of the call. During the session, our 5 core objectives are: one, to start off using the timesheet. This allows you to enter single or bulk data time log entry records for the time frame that you selected. So whether it be a one week view or a 1 month view, we've also had it add new feature enhancements to give you more flexibility. So you're able to now see like a 4 week view or a 2 week view, or maybe you want to see the half the month. So from January 1st to the 15th, that is also available using our timesheet now as well. We'll also be taking a look at the calendar converter, and this is an alternative way for you to log time based on Salesforce events. On the timesheet, there is an approvals and rejections tab as well. These tabs won't be visible automatically or as default. You will have, in order for you to show into the approvals tab, you will need time logs to approve. So typically this is for managers and whatnot, timesheet approvers. And so if you have time logs to approve, then automatically you'll see an approvals tab on your timesheet. And then vice versa, if you have rejected time logs from your managers, from your timesheet managers or time log approvers, then you will have the rejections tab at the top of your timesheet as well. Last but not least, we'll be looking at timesheet settings for you to better understand how to configure your timesheet in a way that you would best like to see it. And that way you can simplify the columns or buttons, or you can show granular details from your projects or actions. Perfect. And before we get started on our demo, I just wanted to explain this real quick because we'll talk about approvals process throughout the call and mainly at the approvals tab section. But I wanted to clarify to have folks understand how these fields interact with our time log approval process. So if you have, there's 2 fields on the project. So if you have your project here, I have my Silverbrooks rental project here. You have your role manager timesheet approval required and your project owner timesheet approval required. So these are 2 checkboxes on the project page, detail page. If you mark any of these fields, it's going to automatically make all time logs in this project. And it's going whenever time logs are logged in this project, it's going to make it in pending status unless you click the save and submit button on your timesheet. So if you don't have it and you don't have these enabled and these are both false like it is now, automatically your time logs, all the time logs that are logged in your project are going to come out on this left view here, which shows approved automatically. So if you don't have it enabled, then automatically all time logs will be approved. However, if you do have one of them enabled or both of these fields enabled on this side, on your project fields, these 2 fields, then it's going to automatically mark that as like if you have your role manager timesheet approval required, it's going to mark this as approval is required from your role manager. And now your role manager is your timesheet approver. So if you are on a role record and there's a field called timesheet approver, that name as your manager is going to pull up here. And then it's going to require them to approve your time log. So then if you log time today for this project that it is marked as true on the role manager timesheet approval required, then that time log that you've created is going to be sent. The moment it gets submitted, it's going to be sent to that timesheet approver, right? Vice versa, the project owner is obviously the project owner on that project. In this case, that would be Janaya here. And if you mark that as true, then the project owner required is going to be automatically going to appear their name here. So Janaya's name would appear marked true, and it's going to appear her name, and it's going to mark this as pending or, and then the user, if you are the user, then you would have to submit it to your project owner to approve. And so if you have both of these fields, typically we recommend that users should not, or managers or users should not be updating the approval status because the logic will automatically do that for you. And so if you have these two fields, one of them will be marked as, let's say one of them is pending and the other one is submitted. It is going to take the value that is the lower value. So if it's pending and submitted, the approval status is going to be pending, right? If it's both submitted, then obviously the approval status will be submitted. If it's both approved, like it is now, then the approval status will be approved. If you have one approved and one submitted, then the approval status will go to the lower value, which is the submitted status. And so if it's submitted and you are the project owner that you need to approve the time log, you will want to update this field, not the approval status. It's because if you update this field, it'll automatically update this to approve. So if you have approved and then submitted as the project owner approving time logs, you want to update this field to approved, and that will automatically update the approval status to approved. So we have a knowledge base article that goes into all the fine details about this, and we'll review this as we get to the approvals tab. But I wanted you to get a clear understanding to see these two views next to each other, so you better understand how the approvals process logic works and within mission control. I'm going to move over to our sandbox. Let me know if you don't see our my screen. Moment. We should, okay, perfect. You should see my screen at the moment. So this is where, as we get started on our Mission Control console page, automatically you're going to land on our Mission Control page. This is 1.79 version. You're going to be on our console page, and the three ways to get to access the timesheet is to go onto the progress pad. This is the one way that you can get to it. The timesheet tile, you can click on the timesheet button. You can see the timesheet automatically at the top of the navigation bar as well. So you can select that, or you can go to the app manager and select timesheet as well. So we see timesheet, you'll see the timesheet now. There's two of them because one of them is a classic and lightning version. You'll see which one it is referring to, as this one is a lightning version. So that's what that's referring to on the app launcher. If you are on your timesheet now, there's a lot of details, a lot of fields, and a lot of columns. And we'll make sure to review it from top to bottom, or from left to right, so that you can better understand all the features and all the icons and buttons and whatnot. As we get started, the time log itself is a way for you to add single or bulk data entry records in your timesheet table, time log table. That way you can log if you know that all your actions are going to pull up. It automatically will pull in all actions where you are the action owner. So it's going to default to you as a role user, and where you are the action owner or where you are the contributor. So if you are a contributor record to an action and you're contributing to an action, then then all those actions will appear for you to log time in the time frame that you selected. So out of the box, it is going to default to a 1 week view, and it's going to default those 7 days, and it's going to default to today's date. So it's going to default to today's week, right? So we see the 18th to the 24th defaulted. If you wanted to change the time frame view and see like a 2 week view or maybe, the 1st to the 15th of each month, um, then you would update those settings in the setting icon. And we'll review this after I go through the timesheet first, so you'll better understand all these new enhancements. You'll automatically see your role record along with your position or job title. And this is all controlled. Obviously, it's going to default that using your role record here. It's going to default for your role record, which is tied to your mission control role record, your Salesforce user record to your role record on here. And so if you're on your role record, your timesheet is gonna pull in the hours per week that you're supposed to, log per week. Your job title. So if I wanted to remove that and you don't want users to see the job title, you can remove that as well. Or if you wanted them to add a position, you could. Your timesheet approver. So this is the role manager that I was referring to earlier. So if you have a manager above you to approve your time logs, any time logs that you log, then that will be the field that you want to enter your manager in, or as managers that you want to make sure to go ahead and do that. You also have these two fields, which will be pretty important. It's called the Manage Timesheets or Manage Subordinate Timesheets. And if you hover over the hint fields, you'll be able to see what they are. So this Manage Timesheet is allowing you to view all other roles' timesheets. So all other roles in your org, you're able to see their timesheets as well. Whereas the Manage Subordinate Timesheets, this is only going to be able to let you as a manager to view timesheets where roles where you're the timesheet approver for. So let's say I'm Janaya, so right? So if I go to another user like David, and I'm Janaya, the timesheet approver for David, I'm able to, if I have this enabled timesheet, subordinate timesheets, then I am able to see David's timesheet only and not everyone else's, right? So that's what that field is doing. There is a timesheet settings section on your role record for you to default your timesheet tabs. I missed it. It is right. And let's just scroll down to it to make sure I didn't forget it. So resources, notifications. So there's a timesheet settings here. Um, and it's not showing up currently at the moment, but you're able to add it onto your page layout. So let me just make sure to show you how to do that. As you go, I'm sorry, if you go to your role record on your object manager, from setup object manager, and you type in role record, you're able to go to your role layout. This is going to pull up your page record for you, and you're able to see these time sheet fields. So if I wanted to add, let's say, a quick section right here. Timesheet settings, I'm able to add these fields. So you do want to make sure to add these fields onto it. So I wanted to show folks so that they're aware that do have to add it manually onto your page layout for you to see. So once we save that, and you go to your row record, you're able to see the timesheet settings section. So I'm just going to refresh that one more time. There we go. So I'm just going to hide that so you can see. So these timesheet settings, you want to add this section, and it's going to always default to your timesheet. So when you're on your timesheet, it's always going to automatically default to your timesheet. But if for any reason you want to default it to your calendar converter, then you can do that as well. So you're able to view your timesheet approvals tab, your timesheet rejections tab, your timesheet tab, and your view calendar converter. So that's another field, view calendar converter. So I want to make sure to add those fields to your role page. And now that that is done, that way you can change the default. So let's say you're trying to edit your default and you want to always like go onto, you always want to see the first thing, your calendar converter first, let's say, then you want to edit your default setting. I might have pushed the timesheet. Yeah, so I pushed the timesheet. Okay, so that it is on your edit page, but if you scroll down to your default, so timesheet default tab, it's going to go to your calendar converter. So anytime you go to your timesheet, it's always going to default to that tab instead first of your timesheet, or vice versa, whatever field, whatever tab you want to view. If you want to disable certain users to not view their approvals or rejections tab, and we don't need that, or maybe you don't want them to view a calendar converter, then you can disable that for your users as well. So I wanted to show folks where that is. That's been a new feature that has been added. That's all controlled on the role page in the role record. So we haven't edited anything, but so as you start on your role, your timesheet on your role record, you'll see it defaults to you as a role. However, I know that I am a manager. I manage timesheets, so I'm able to view other roles. So I can go into my other roles for last week or this week, and I can pull in their timesheet. So it's going to pull in Jimin. He's one of my developers, and these are all his time logs. I mean, actions for him to log time to for this week. And that way you can see other roles. Your time frame view is going to default, like I said, to this week. You can go backwards or forwards for last week to this week, or forward for next week as well. So that will show you the weeks that you're going back and forth on, or the time frame that you selected. And then you can click go. Maybe there's a certain day that you want to go to, like the 1st of January. Then you can click that date and click go as well. You'll see our 4 buttons. So you'll see the save and timesheet, save and submit. Pretty straightforward. This is just going to save your timesheets. Now the save and submit, it's pretty handy for regarding if you have time log approvals like we discussed earlier. So if you know that you have enabled time log approvals in some projects or in all your projects, then you want to make sure to click the save and submit timesheet button. That way, all your time logs that have been created that were in pending status, and you'll see which time logs were in pending or submitted status or approved and whatnot, will automatically be revert to from pending to submitted. So if you have that enabled on the on the project page, then automatically you're logging time, those time logs that are whose actions belong to a project that have those fields enabled, they will automatically be in pending status unless you submit them. So this is going to submit that status on the time log to submitted status. If you don't want to see any of these buttons, or you wanted to hide a certain button and you don't need to worry about this button, let's say, you can go ahead and into your settings and hide it as well. The save and suggested hours. So that's referring to the grayed out field. So you see how there's certain grayed out values. These are row allocation values. So this is reminding me that as a user, I need to be working about 1/4 of an hour each day in order to complete this action on time. I know that I have to work 5 hours from this action start and end date, and I know this action is probably about a couple weeks long. So I need to be working at least a 1/4 of an hour every day. So these are just the raw allocations that are in gray to remind your user that you need to be working on these actions. And then so the 6 suggested hours are going to save all these values as time logs. So these 1.71, this one 0.25, it's going to create all those time logs as individual time logs for these cells. And we know that these actions are all billable, and that's why these values, I have hours scheduled on them, and that's why these values are coming up. I'll show that for next week's view, so you're just able to see it. So if you click the button, it's automatically going to create those time logs and save them automatically to your time log. So I created these time logs for next week's view. So those views have already been generated and created, right? Obviously, these dates are going up to this date, and so it stops going forward. That's why you don't see other values here, but that's how the save suggested hours will work. So it's dependent on row allocations. And row allocations are the daily amount of, hours that you'll need to complete your actions on time, depending on what hours schedule that you put onto the action for the contributors or the action owner. Cloning last week's hours. So let's say I'm currently on this week's view, and I wanted to clone all my hours from last week. So if I have these hours from last week and I know that I'm doing the same amount of work and I want to clone it over until next week, then I can go over to next week and clone and click the button for clone last week's hours, and it's going to clone everything from last week into this week. That pop-up page will appear, and that way you can edit certain fields and you can edit, maybe you want to clone everything and except delete this one at time log here. You can do that, and then you can save and submit those new time logs that you're creating. As I stated before, these are our time log approval statuses. So anytime you're logging a time, so let's say I want to log 1 hour here. Yep. And you can double click into the cell. It's going to give you those other time log fields for you to log time to. So maybe I'm going to say prepare for meeting. And there's other fields. I know I don't really need those, but maybe there's a time log type that you wanted to put down onto. And that warning icon will come up because you've edited. In order for you to save that manual entry that you just did, you want to make sure to click save. So that automatically is going to be approved since I don't have a time log approval process on that. But you'll see how that works. So if there's so just to be aware of any pendings or submitted or rejected time logs, and you can view that at a quick view here. Our keyword search. So this is important for you to look up individual actions. So let's say you just want to look up, you have numerous actions, like there's 15 actions and it just keeps scrolling down, right? You can look up an individual action by just typing the name in. So right now I'm looking at admin action. Let's say there's a PAN ID number where it's 0325 that I specifically want to log time to, then I can, then I know that that's the action that I want to log time to so that I log time appropriately and correctly. You also have our timesheet settings, and we'll review this in just a moment. So we'll go through that. There's some new enhancements, and this is where you can control if you want to add, more weeks, more views to your week time frame that you've selected for your timesheet and whatnot, and then your other approvals tab as well. You're also able to see our timesheet filter. So this is pertaining to any filters that you create. So let's say you want to see like only projects, only actions that pertain to a particular project, then you can create that and filter that. Obviously, if you go ahead and do what I just did now, you haven't saved the filter, so you only have, selected it. It is going to show green, so it's going to show all those actions under that project where you want to log time to. So I'm just filtering all the actions that belong to this project, pre-implementation. So this filter hasn't been saved yet, but you could save the filter. So you could say, I want to create a filter called all my pre-co projects, right? And so I'm going to create this filter. It's going to create, and so it's created it, but you want to save it as well. So maybe you only want to see actions that have the status of planned. Then you can filter that down and say, I want to see all actions that have an action owner or, the status. And so maybe in this case, we'll see the status of, I'm going to put planned, yeah. So I'm going to make sure you save that first, that filter gets saved, and then you can filter that out. So currently those two actions are in progress, and so they're not going to appear, but that's how that works. I also have, for example, our contributor actions. So these are all the actions where I'm the contributor to. As I've explained before, the timesheet is automatically going to pull all actions where you are the action owner for that week, the time frame that you selected, or where you are the contributor to those actions for that week, where the contributor exists. And so those dates where the action start date and end dates are fall within January 18th to the 24th, those actions will appear, will be the only actions that appear as default, where you are the contributor or action owner. But let's say I only want to see actions where I'm the contributor only to the action. I'm not the action owner, but I'm only the contributor to. So I've created this called contributor actions um, preset filter. I just named it contributor actions. I've saved it. I put the contributor and I'm the current user. So the current user is this value of 1. And then if you can filter that out. And so I want to see all actions. No, I want to see, yes, I want to see all actions where I'm the contributor to, and I'm not the action owner. So if you go into like this, for example, you'll see the field. Just want to show it real quickly. It's called contributor current user. So this is referring to me since I'm the current user. I'm the role to this contributor record. So these are pulling all the contributor records that I want to log time to. And you can do that vice versa for the action as well. So if you wanted to see all action and where you're the action owner only, then you could do the same and create that list view where you just want to say, I'm the action owner and I am the action owner current user, right? And you want to put in that one value or whatnot. And make sure to save that before you filter it. Make sure always save the filter if you're trying to filter that out. So I'm going to exit out of that for now, just so that I want to see all my actions. So I've exited out of that filter. Now we see our time log data table. If you're in your data table, there's numerous columns. You have your collapse all and expand all. Let's say you just want to just log time one by one. You can do that. If you want to see them all at once, you can do that. Obviously, you see our URL links to the project itself that we can go to the particular project or milestone, and you can open those up manually. Project or milestone for the action, you see the action pan ID number. So these are the individual ID numbers. You can pull up the action name itself, so it's going to pull into that individual action, which is nice. If you wanted to not, if you don't want that to be available and you don't want that hyperlink, then you can disable that in the settings as well. We see automatically our chatter feed icon. If you hover over it, you'll see the names of these, and you'll see the action checklist, checklist manager. You see the issue manager icon, and that way you can create an issue right on your timesheet. You can create a checklist item that's tied to the action on your timesheet. You can create a chatter feed that's tied to the action. So you can go ahead and create those as well. And from here, you could also mark your action as complete. And so if you mark the action as complete, you'll see that action completion percentage will automatically default to 100. So if I am on this action here, let's say I mark it as complete, the warning icon is reminding me to do that. You can also, let's say, you should be able to, this back arrow is going to undo certain things. So if you're logging time and you haven't saved just yet, you can undo that. I know I do want to mark this, so I'm going to save this action completeness as complete. The timesheet itself is automatically only going to pull planned or in progress actions, which the logic there is obviously if you have actions that are already complete, you don't need to view them anymore. For example, if you did want to see overdue actions, or you can show all overdue actions that that are outside of this time frame. But if you wanted to see all actions where they're on hold status, then you could type that in where you can type in like an action whose status is, let's say, on hold, or let's say canceled, or completed. So these three statuses are not going to show. So if you have actions that are in on hold, canceled, or completed status, they're not going to automatically show on the timesheet. So you can filter them in. Um, let's see if this, but they're not going to automatically pull up. Um, let's see. I think I'm. Let's make sure I'm doing this. I think I'm the action owner, but I'll have to test that on the project. Check. And I'll double check this before our uh, before as we end our call as well. So we'll circle back to this. But the timesheet itself won't pull those in. And furthermore, if you go into your actions, there is a field called excluded from the timesheet. So if you wanted to exclude from timesheet. So if you wanted to exclude this action for some reason and you don't see it, maybe you want to make sure these fields have been excluded. So this is going to exclude this action from your timesheet. So it's never going to appear on your timesheet if you mark that as true. If the indicator is true, then this is going to show you that the parent above the action, so maybe the milestone or the time project level itself has this marked true. And so that's why even though the action isn't true, but the indicator is marking that the parent record is excluding all, this action, all actions from the timesheet. So just to be aware of that as well. So if there's certain reasons why you're not seeing them, the actions appear, then you want to check the status, you want to check if they've been excluded, you want to check the time frame that you selected and whatnot. You can also manually pull in those actions as well. So these are our action lookup filters, our account filter, our project filter. So you know that, there's a certain account that has multiple projects, then you can pull into that, those, it's going to pull in those projects under that account, and then you can select that uh, particular action that you're trying to look for, and it's going to pull in that action that you want to log time to. If you go into next week, this action will disappear because it's only been pulled into this week's view. So you just have to manually enter that in, or if you wanted to readjust the dates, then the action will always be consistent on the dates that you've selected it for. As we go into our billable hours source, we see the billable and non-billable rows. So you see the billable row for the green up here and the gray non-billable row for this gray cell down here. The hours source. So these values are coming from the hours scheduled, the hours completed, and the hours remaining. So right now, I know that I am a contributor. I believe I'm the action owner to some of these actions, and I'm a contributor record to believe this one as well. So I know I have 1 hour I need to contribute to. I completed half an hour already, so I need to complete 0.45 in order to complete this action on time. The completion percentage, let's say you wanted to override that value, you could do that there. For adding that value for completion percentage, that could mean that you know that you've done your part of the work, but I know that even though I've done my part of the work, the action is actually 75% done, and it's not at, 50%, but it's actually at closer to 75%. That's updating the override for the action completion percentage on the action itself. The time tracking, this is a great feature where you could start your timer and stop your timer. So from here, you can start your timer, and let's say I want to start tracking my time on this project, and it's going to automatically start at it, start the timer, but it's going to mark it as red, a red clock icon. So this is reminding you that if there's any red icon, you can only have one red icon, one clock going at a time, that you're working on this. You're going to know that you're going to do this work for a couple hours and come back, and once you're done, then you could stop your timer and turn it off and click it again to just stop it. I'll leave it on for just a couple of minutes and we'll see how that how the values turn out. The default view is going to default to Sunday to Saturday. If you wanted to default it, let's say you only work Wednesdays to Friday, and you wanted to default it to Wednesday, you can do so on our settings icon. Right now, I have my non-working days, my weekends, since I don't work on Saturday and Sundays, I have them grayed out. So I do have those grayed out on my settings as well. Um, your dates are here. You also see our time log modal. So this is our time log summary. If you know that you have a time log entry, and so if you wanted to, let's say, you completed half an hour on this date, and you've done so, and then you also know that you actually need to log more time, you can click the save and submit, or you can click the save and new button, and that way you can log more time. Like I'm going to add another 2 hours for working on implementation, right? And then you can save that so that that gets updated. If you double click into that cell, you'll see that those two time logs entries were added. So this is one time log here. This is a second time log here that you've created. If you wanted to, let's say, go look at the time log summary modal. So this is going to pull in that. Oh, I didn't save it yet. So let's make sure to save it. You want to go here and you'll see that 2 hour has also been saved now. And you can go in and edit. Anytime you edit on the time log summary, this is going to save automatically. So if you click the check mark box, it's going to save so you don't have to save it again. So I'm just going to say test. I'm going to make it, let's just say I'm going to put it in submitted status, and I'm going to mark that as true, as save, and then you'll know that that has been saved now. If you wanted to add more fields onto this, then you would just make sure to go to your object manager, your object manager here, and then you can click on time log. You can find your time log object. Make sure it's AMC, pre-com mission control. You can click on that and go to all your field sets. So this is where you could control all those field sets for your time log summary. So this is pertaining to the summary field itself, which is what we are just on. This is the summary page. If you wanted to add more custom fields or remove these fields, then you could customize the field set to add more fields and whatnot. Let's say you wanted to delete. Once you delete here, it is automatically going to delete that time log for you, so you can do that as well. So this is going to count the hours that have been added for this action for Monday through Friday. So if you have another time log for 0.75, it's going to be 2.5 plus 0.75 is going to give you that total here, right? The approvals are going to show pending, submitted, approved, and rejected status. So this is going to be all time logs that have been approved for this row, for this action row, right? This is pertaining to all time logs in this view, whereas these are just pertaining to this row of action only. And then your back icon to undo certain actions. If you've already saved, then you can't undo it, but if you're going back and forth, then you can undo it. So I'm just going to save. So right now it's been just a few minutes. I believe it's been. So I'm gonna to save this test time log. I'm gonna stop the timer. So this is stopping the time log information modal, and this information time log information pop-up page is different from, let's say, this log time component page. This log time component page is referring to this log time components field set. So you can customize that component field set you can add these, remove these fields on this log time component. So this is different. You'll see this log time component field set throughout mission control with this clock icon. You'll see it on the project overview. You'll see it on the whiteboard, the manager, the Gantt icon. This is the log time component. Whereas this information right here is the log. It's referring to these field sets here. So time log, timesheet. You have your mobile. These are just your project owner approval rejections tab. You can customize the approval rejections tab through the field sets here. And this is the time log summary PDF. So all those field sets are controlled on this time log summary field sets here. So that way you can see where you can edit those fields. Let me go back to that. I'm sorry. This time log information itself here is different from the log time component, and this time log information modal is controlled on your user settings. So let's say you wanted to start customizing. So this is controlled, right? Time log information right here. Time log information modal. So this is where you want to hide. Maybe you'd want to hide the percentage in the time log type, or you want to hide the issue, checklist item, whatever. You're going to hide the issue, checklist item, and percentage and time log type. If you hide that, it's going to pertain to this the pop-up when you double click into the cell. And when you click into them, now that you see that all those fields that I just hidden, they've been hidden and removed from this page now. You can add those custom fields. Let's say you have other fields you want added. So you can add them, you can add those back, and you can add them on the time log information modal. So right here. You can add up to 5 additional fields, and you can add those custom fields right here. Let's say there's a custom field that you wanted to add. These are pertaining to action fields. Actually, I'm sorry, these are time log fields. So time log fields on your time log object, custom, you can add them. These are out of the box AMC fields, but you could add these fields as well. I'm just going to move that back so we can see those reappear again. Then you can add those to the time log information modal, which is these here. So those have been added back. But yes, I wanted to differentiate the difference between the two of those views. As we've taken a look at the timesheet table, pretty standard. I've reviewed these icons and whatnot already. The account lookup fields, the project, so you can pull in those actions that are not where you is not in this view, or where you are not the contributor or the action owner. But if you look at this lower left-hand bottom, you'll see that the total billable hours are going, I mean, the total hours are going to accumulate and adjust for you. So I know that out of my role record, I'm supposed to be completing 40 hours a week. And I know that um, I need to be logging 5 hours. I need to be logging 40 hours this week. So I need to log more time. This is showing me that I've only submitted about 6 hours. So those hours are coming from the billable actions, they're coming from non-billable and holiday hours if I have any. If you have any holidays, and you have it grayed out like I do, it will gray out, and then the holiday is going to come up on this level, on this lower left-hand corner, so that you can click into the holiday and you can adjust it to make sure it's correct. And then you also have your total hours. So this is just going to count those hours going down to give you this value here. This is just looking at your as we reviewed how to use our timesheet. As we look at the timesheet settings, you'll see here, we've reviewed these timesheet settings already. So you can hide the billable, non-billable role. You can show overdue actions. You see that there's, like, if I show overdue actions, these are all overdue actions completely, regardless of the date that we've selected. So these are all overdue actions that I have not completed. That's going to show all overdue actions. If you have numerous actions, let's say there's just lots and lots of actions, you can also enable our pagination. So that's been a new feature added as well. So you can enable pagination, and you can say, I only want to see 10 actions at a time because it's just too much to view, let's say. So you can enable that, and automatically won't be available unless you enable it, or you'll see the pagination available here. So I know that there's about, I think around 15 actions or so that I can go forward into those other actions as well. So that's how the pagination, this has been a new feature added. That way you can go back and forth within those two views, and you can limit those number of action records that you want to see. So maybe you want to see 25 actions per page. But that's the default setting. I'm just going to disable that for now. And I'm going to hide that for now. Let's say I only want to see that billable role, and I want to hide on all non-billable role. Let's say I want to hide my holidays, or maybe I want to hide the save and submit and suggested hours, clone last week's hours. So you can hide those views. It this is giving you as a your users access to customize their timesheet. If you don't want to give users their own access to their timesheet, then you want to control this by going to your control pad setting, which is on this view here. You go to your Mission Control console page and um, you can go to the timesheet settings tile. When you're on the timesheet settings tile, this is the settings override. So this is overriding it for all users in your org. This is letting you know that you're going to control all timesheet settings. You want all users to be able to view it this way, so that they can't control it there. So right now I have user access as myself. I can go ahead and edit however I want. I can hide certain fields. Maybe you don't want to give, so I've hidden those non-billable row, right, as you can tell. Um, and I've gone ahead and let's say you don't want to give your user access to do that. So you're going to hide that and you want to make sure to click that button and hide that. So if you refresh your page, you'll see that the user setting icon is now gone. So if you don't have that if you don't have this timesheet setting user icon, then it's because this has been overridden by your managers and you can't manually configure it anymore. You can update your managers to let them know, hey, can we hide these fields? They may or may not want you to do that, but that it will be how it's controlled. So right now, let's say for all your users, you want them to always, to hide this field and to see a 1 week view or 1 month view of their time log, whatever it is, then this is gonna, when you save it on the control pad setting here for timesheet settings, this is gonna create it for all your users. They're all gonna see it this way. They're all gonna have access to this, maybe this only save button here or whatnot. I'm just gonna disable this because I'm gonna it's more easily visible on the timesheet itself. So once we refresh that, that user setting is going to come back to me. That way I have access to configure it myself. So out of the box, there's been some other features. So I'm just going to add, I know I want this. There's a new feature that has been a data setting that's been added, which is the hide non-billable role of actions non-billable indicator is false. So there's a field called non-billable indicator on the action page. And if this is false and this checkbox is, not marked, then let's say you want to hide that non-billable role so that you could hide certain actions, right? Or that's certain roles because you want to make it, more clean, let's say, and concise. Then you can hide that. You can also hide actions with no time logs. If you know that there's actions that you're not going to be logging time into, then you can hide those actions and whatnot, and go so on and so forth. This is also all described in our knowledge base article, the timesheet tab knowledge base article. So it goes into detail on what exactly each of these settings do, and then you could test it, so on and so forth as well. I just mainly wanted to highlight the new ones so that you see what the new ones were. The other new data setting is this tied non-working day columns does not include holidays. So if you have this enabled, this is going to mark, if you have, let's say you're out of the office, but let's say I have a holiday for Monday and I took off Monday for PTO. This is going to completely gray out Monday so that you can't log time to this holiday, this non-working day. And then that way, your users can't log time to the days that they already are out of work, right? And so or also, let's say your role record is only set, oops, is only set to work, let's say they're only set to work Wednesday to Friday. And so this is 0 and this is 0. If that's 0, then these days are also going to be grayed out, just like the Saturday and Sundays. Monday and Tuesday are going to be all grayed out and they can't log time to it. That way it's more concise on what days they know they need to be logging time to. So that's what that setting does. If they do log time through the other components like the whiteboard and the utility bar log time component, they log that time to that Monday or Tuesday, it is going to appear on that day that they did log 2 hours, let's say, even though they were already out of the office, let's say. So that there is a way to bypass that, but that's if they were working, maybe they're out for a conference or whatnot. So that's what this setting specifically does. And again, that's all explained in our release notes or through these settings here. So again, if you wanted to see you only wanted to see the 1 in 16th view, right now it's a 1 week view, but let's say I wanted to see January 1st to the 15th, then you can see right now I'm on the end of the month, so it's going to default to the week that I'm on right now, which is today's the 21st. I'm looking at the latter end of the month. So it's going to pull the 16th to the very end of the month, so the 31st. But let's say I wanted to see the start of the month, then I can see the first of the month to the 15th. So that is what the time frame that it's selected. These are new enhancements. So out of the box, you only the previous versions only had 1 week or 1 month, but now we've added these new other features. So you can see a 2 week view, you can see a 4 week view, and then the first or the 16th view. So this 2 week view is showing you 2 weeks that you can see all actions where you can log time to for your timesheet. So you save that. This is also referring. So now this is referring to the time frame of the timesheet, where this is referring to the action time frame. So let's say you have all actions that you're only trying to pull in actions from this week currently, that as you know, that are today's date of this week. But let's say you wanted to also make sure it's consistent with a fortnight view, then you can pull in all those other actions from last week as well that you needed to log time to. I don't have that many actions from last week, so it's pretty similar. But if let's say you wanted to see all actions from this month, then you can pull in all those actions from this month into this fortnight view. Be aware that if you do show all overdue actions regardless, all overdue actions are going to show regardless. So just be aware of that. Um, so I'm just going to go back to the 1 week just so it's more concise. And then my hours, this is referring to my hours here. Your hours source, so these data tables here are showing your hours scheduled, hours completed, and hours remaining, right? So right now, I know that I'm not the action owner to this action, and so this is only showing my hours where I need to contribute this many hours, right? The hours scheduled where I'm the contributor, or I'm the action owner here, so I know that I'm the only action owner. There's nobody else tied to this action. There's no contributors. I know that I only need to be contributing 10 hours to this action here. Obviously, right now I have it set to my hours, so I'm only going to be seeing my hours. If I wanted to see all total hours, then you're just going to show all total hours tied to that action itself. So those values are going to fluctuate depending on what view you selected. So then I know that there's 20 hours tied to this action, and this is referring to the hours scheduled on the action itself, right? So we see that there's 20 hours here. And I'm the contributor to this one as well. Actually, okay, so let's go back. My hours. It's I wanted to hide these. Let's say I wanted to hide let's say I wanted to hide the checklist, these icons that I just don't need. Um, and I wanted to show hours in the clock. This is all I want to this is how I want to hide these columns. You can hide them. They're now removed. And our latest requirement, our latest release has also widened the depth so that there's not all this blank space now. And you can also widen the timesheet so that the columns are more evenly dispersed and more concise. Let's say that you see how these action and project has been kind of slightly cut off, the project name, action name. You can also widen them. So let's say I want to make sure, I enter a value to make sure I see the full name. You can widen the pixels of the column so that you can see the full name as well. So that way I can see the full name of those actions. So we reviewed those column settings. We reviewed timesheet additional settings. So this has been a new enhancement created. It used to be up to 5 custom fields that you could add. Actually, um, this is a new enhancement. So if let's say right now I want to see the action owner. So this action owner is referring to the action column. You could add up to one custom field under the action name. So it's gonna show me who's the action owner and to the action, right? So this is what it's referring to for the action column. And now the other custom fields that you can add up to 6 custom fields. Now these are going to like if I wanted to see, let's say my action baseline start date. And let's say I want to make sure I see my baseline end date. And let's say I also want to see my um, project type, and I also want to see my milestone type, let's say. So these are 3 custom columns, but you can add up to 6. Um, you can add up to 3 fields each regarding to each of these, right? So you see the milestone billing type, you see the product billings type, and the action baseline and start date. So these are going to be those 3 columns that get adjusted. Right now, I only added, 4, so there's only 4 that come up. So it's going to make it concise so that if you have another row, then it would be the 3rd column to add more custom fields that you want to see. That way you can see, the project, the action, and the milestone fields from those objects into your timesheet as well. If you wanted to remove those, then you could just go ahead and remove that and save that. And I think it's trying to clear out. So let's just make sure these are cleared. Awesome. As we go down our timesheet settings, we've looked at expanding our WIPs. We looked at those custom fields that you can add onto the timesheet. We looked at pagination, the timesheet sort order. So these actions are going to sort order in order of the default setting, which is project milestone action in ascending order. And so it's going to default like you see A to Z first, right, on the project and milestone. Let's say you wanted actually the action name to be the order that you wanted in ascending order instead or in descending order, then it's going to actually pull the sort of these actions in from A to Z from the action column instead of the projects, let's say. And so you see that A to the B to the action names has been sorted out from that. You see the time log information modal that we already discussed, where you can add custom fields and hide those certain buttons. And then the timesheet, the time log approvals and data settings. Now this has been added. I mean, this has already been available, but if we take a look before we get there, those are the timesheet settings, and that's controlled on the user settings with this icon or the control pad settings. If we are on our calendar converter, now a new feature enhancement that we've added has been to this button here. That way you can also see on any roles. So if you wanted to go into Lexi's, your other roles that you are the timesheet, approver of, or you can manage your subordinate timesheets depending on what status you have in your row record, like we discussed. You can see her actions and time logs that her calendar converter as well on her calendar converter. Right now, I'm just going to take a look at mine. This is showing all actions where I'm logging time to because the actions have a start and end date to them. As you'll see automatically that there is a green icon on them. This green icon is showing you that these are actions, and I've put a start date and a start end time on the action for it to auto-populate. And I can also drag, and allows me to log time on my calendar converter that I know I worked on this particular action. You will have to manually input these fields because it's not going to default. It's not going to know which action you're trying to log time to. So it's gonna calculate the hours completed for you, and you can log time to it. And once you log time to it, it's going to revert that time log into a, what is it called? It's going to revert that into a red icon instead. Um, Oops, I think I'm in the midnight, but You can see how that works there. So if you wanted to log time to this action here, then you can go ahead and log time. It's going to default automatically, so you don't have to worry about putting a time. But that action will now be red. As you can tell, it is now red. And it's going to default that Sunday to Saturday as well. Oh, that was today's. Okay. And then let's see. So these are Salesforce events as well. So if you are on your action, there is it will show up. You can sync your Gmail and Outlook calendar to Salesforce calendar. And if they create, and if they, if it's set up correctly and those are Salesforce events, they will appear on your calendar converter. As I'm shown here, there's an event here. So if you mark this true as an event, then these will appear on your calendar converter as well. So just to be aware of how that gets calculated. So I went ahead on think of these before and added a start date and start time to certain actions, and that's why they appear on my calendar converter. Or maybe I've already added them as an event, and that's why they're on my calendar converter as well. As we take a look at the approvals tab, timesheet tab, we've already gone through the approvals logic, but let's say I am on my project here and I am requiring I'm editing, I'm requiring that there is approvals required. I am requiring that there is a project manager timesheet approval required. And let's say a project owner approval required. Um, this is going to now show that this is project owner, which is Janai on this project, needs to be approving all time logs, and the role manager needs to be approving these time logs as well. So I go to log time. I already logged it. That one time log was submitted now because it now updated. But actually, that was referring to this Aprika. I want to go to and I do want to make sure that I have an timesheet approval for myself in order to log that as well. So let's say I should be Jimin. Let's see. Jimin is the timesheet approver for my time logs now, and I can go into those individual time logs to get them approved by them. So right now, you don't see the approvers tab or the rejections tab because it hasn't been approved just yet. But if we go into Jimin's view here, we should see time logs for him to approve on my behalf. Let's see. Let's double check that action. I believe it's this one here that I just logged time to. Pending. So that since I updated those two fields on the project, it automatically goes into pending status. And I think I needed to refresh my timesheet in order for the status to roll up. But if I'm on my time log, you'll see, like I said earlier, because those fields were marked as true, the logic is gonna mark these as true, and it's gonna pull in who my project owner and who my role manager. At first, it wasn't Jimin's, but because I just added him afterwards, then his name is not gonna pull up. So I'm just gonna put his name in there now. So it's gonna be impending. Let's say it's in Gmin's not gonna see his approval status until I submit. So I'm gonna submit this over to him. And then I wanted to show our time logs as well. So there are two list views out of the box where you can see my rejected time logs and where you can see time logs that require my approval. So if I'm a manager and I need, I can update it on the list view or I can update it on my timesheet approvals tab. But these is another way for you to mass update in approvals or rejections and whatnot. So right now I know that since I'm the project owner, I need to approve that time log by that user, right? So I created that time log, so I can go ahead and approve it um, as the project manager on this project here. Um, I can reject it as well. So let's just say for now, I'll approve it. And so it's going to pull in each of your roles and how many time logs they have. It's going to how many hours that they've logged time to. So right now I know Janai's gone in and she's added 1 hour, one time log. There's only one time log with 1 hour. There might be 15 time logs with, 3 hours or whatnot. And then you can go to the certain weeks that you're trying to log, like you're trying to those time logs were dated for also. And then you can mark them, you can reject them, you can add comments, and you can customize these tabs using the field sets that we reviewed on the approvals tab on the timesheet from the back end. So I can automatically approve this, and it's going to approve it for Janaya. And then that time log, if I refresh that page, approvals tab is now going to disappear. And if I want to go to Gmin, we should also see Gmin's approval tab as well. Actually, that time log, we refresh it. It's already been approved, actually. But let's say, um, because it was just a project owner, but let's say it was in submitted status. So you see that the moment the lower value gets added from those manager, this approval status is now in submitted status. It updates automatically depending on these two fields here. So I know that Gmin needs to go back and the reason why he didn't show it was because it was already approved, so there wasn't anything for him to approve. But if we refresh this page and update his name, his approvals tab will pull up that time log for myself. There we go. So he knows that he needs to log time. Oh, it's defaulting. Okay. Oh, I actually click yes. Or click go. Okay. So I've clicked go. I'm on the approvals tab for Gmin. Then it'll show the same thing where it'll be Janaya, 1 hour to approve, and I'll make sure to report this to our dev team as well. But the approvals tab will default to him, and I think right now, then that way he can reject that time log or approve that time log. I think it's reverting to me instead of his name, so I think that's why it's showing at 0, but we can see that he does have one time log to approve. And when that time log does go in, which is this time log here, we know that this is still in submitted status, then it's going to show the same thing as earlier. And let's say Gmin actually rejects it, and his rejection comments that he tells me to enter time log notes, let's say. And because I am not the role manager, I can't necessarily update these columns. So I'm just going to, because I'm logged in as myself, Janai, right now. I'm just going to remove his name, but if it was Gmin, then he could reject it. That way, when I go to my timesheet, then my rejections tab is now visible. And with the rejections tab, you can edit these custom fields, the project, the action, the time log itself, you can open that up. I can see that he has gone ahead and rejected this time log, and it says rejected, and he tells me that I need to enter time log notes. So I'm going to go ahead and just edit that, and I'm just clicking the mass edit button so I can quickly edit these notes. And I'm just going to put in test, whatever notes I have. And that way, when I click on this icon, it's going to save that time log now, so it gets saved, and then you could submit. So this icon is the chatter pencil icon to edit, submit time log for approval, or you can throw it away and delete this time log. But obviously, no, this is just saving, this is just submitting this time log for this one time log here. But if you have numerous time logs, then and you want to resubmit all of them, then you could click submit all time logs for approval. So I'm gonna just submit all time logs. It's gonna disappear, and it's gonna resubmit to Gmin that he will go ahead and approve that time log now. And if you see here that now that rejection is zeroed out, that rejections tab will now disappear now as well. So that capsulizes all our new enhancements regarding the timesheet feature. I'll make sure to, report to my team on anything that was missed or any errors that had shown appeared. So none of those errors were out of the box, but I hope that gives you a clear understanding. Let me just make sure to review any questions that you might have. Okay. I don't see any questions. Awesome. So I'll wrap up. This wraps up our Cosmo Campfire for today. Let me know if you have any more questions. Feel free to send us a ticket at support@aprika.com to get in touch with us. That's the fastest way our team will respond to you. You can take a look at our user guides, our knowledge-based articles, our training videos that explains the timesheets further and approvals process. There's lots more to learn through our resources as well. Thank you so much for joining our Cosmo Campfire. I hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.